Jeff Jenkins along with Kennedy, Mollie Heminway, and Tom Shalhoub, and welcome to the big weekend show. The big story tonight, Biden's big push for the black vote.
In Georgia, they won't allow water to be available to you while you wait in line to vote in an election. What in the hell is that all about? I'm serious. We won by the thinnest of margins, but with a broad coalition, including students from the best HBCU in America, Delaware State University. You guys are good, but they got me elected. Y'all think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding.
From pandering to blatant lies, President Biden seemed to have one motive in his Morehouse College commencement speech: win votes. Fox News correspondent Madison Scarpino is in Atlanta tonight.
Griff, this is the first time President Biden has been on a college campus and directly addressed students since the war in Gaza and since all of the campus protests. During President Biden's speech, about 10 students and 1 faculty member turned their backs to the president, seemingly as part of a silent protest. It didn't take long for him to address them.
I want to say this very clearly. I support peaceful, nonviolent protest. Your voices should be heard, and I promise you I hear them. It's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That's why I've called for an immediate ceasefire. An immediate ceasefire to stop the fighting. Bring the hostages home.
Dozens of graduates were wearing keffiyehs, and at least one had a Palestinian flag draped over his shoulders. The valedictorian had a Palestinian flag on his cap.
It is my stance as a Morehouse man, nay, as a human being, to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip.
Just off campus, hundreds of people gathered for an anti-Israel rally. Many were chanting, "Biden, Biden, you're a liar, free Palestine." But overall, it's been mostly peaceful with no major issues or disruptions. Morehouse College has a long history of activism. It's Martin Luther King Jr.'s alma mater. Here on campus, students and alumni are divided on the president's visit. Some embraced it, but some saw it as a political opportunity to try and gain more support among black voters. Griff?
All right, Madison Scarpino, thank you very much. Let's start with you, Mollie, because I was getting head shakes, I got giggles, cackles. What was your reaction?
Well, actually, the first thing that has to be pointed out, he just flat out lied there when he talked about Georgia election laws. He's lied about Georgia election laws a lot, President Biden has. He falsely claimed that you're not allowed to drink water if you're in line to vote. It's actually not true. They did pass a law against bribery online if you're in line to vote, and other things like that. But he has mischaracterized that, and that's wrong. It also just struck me as a very dark and angry speech, which he's done a bit of that recently.
Real-time fact check out of you. How do you do, Kennedy?
Oh, well, you have to realize, Griff, that inflation was 57% when he took office. This is the greatest presidency and the greatest economy, not only of the modern era, but in the history of republics. So he has a lot to be thankful for. And I don't blame some of those students for being upset because it is pandering. You know, when the president doesn't show up, when he's not desperately trying to cobble together a coalition that is crumbling before his very weak eyes. It's not just the black vote, but they also, a lot of people don't appreciate just being thrown into a convenient bucket and being told to vote a certain way when it's convenient for a politician who really has not done that much for members of the black community. But these are individuals, you know, these are moms and dads, these are future parents, these are future business leaders who can't afford to pay for school, and they can't afford a damn thing. They certainly can't afford to pay for a house right now. Bidenomics has done them an incredible disservice. You know, it's like you throw in this pro-war, pro-Hamas movement, and it really muddies things up. But when you get to the nuts and bolts of the economy, they're hurting and they are frustrated, and they don't want to see some guy come in and slap
I'm not
hands.
sure Republicans appreciated being called racist. Tom, listen to this.
They don't see you in the future of America, but they're wrong. To me, we make history, not erase it. We know black history is American history. We know black men are going to help us lead us to the future. Extremist forces aligned against the meaning and message of Morehouse. And they peddle a fiction, a caricature, what being a man is about. tough talk, abusing power, bigotry. Their idea of being a man is toxic, but that's not you. It's not us.
Tom, what do you think of that?
Okay, so toxic masculinity, the extremist forces, the lie about the water. He uses bigotry. He's going to keep this up all the way through the fall. I don't think it's working, this thing. He talks about incessantly about the tiki torches. He talks about January 6th. I mean, I think that's a loser. He's got to get on and talk about the country and the economy, because that's what people are thinking about.
Yes, good point. Now, he is getting along. After the Morehouse graduation, Biden went to Detroit to score more political points with black voters. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson is live for us tonight on the North Lawn at the White House. Hey, Lucas.
Griff, good evening. With the president behind in the swing states and with black voters, the president spent the weekend going to swing states to win over black voters.
We've been pretty good. We've had the lowest unemployment rate for a long, long time. We've been in a situation where I've forgiven an awful lot of debt from the folks' college debt, billions of dollars of it, so people can start their lives again. People be in a good shape. Anyway, there's a lot going on.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who got in that little scrap on Capitol Hill with Marjorie Taylor Greene, says the problem is with the messaging. The White House isn't saying enough good things.
Well, I think that black folk need to know that this administration has actually invested in them. When you start looking at student debt relief, it has disproportionately positively impacted black folk. We're talking about over $137 billion for over 4 million people. That means that there is at least 4 million people that now can hopefully start to get at that wealth gap and maybe buy a home because their debt to income ratio won't be so bad.
Now, speaking of the debt-to-income ratio, Griff, many economists say it's very high right now because of inflation. Goods cost about 20% higher than the day President Biden took office. Griff?
Fortunately, it's not 57%, as Kennedy pointed out, but it is up indeed. Lucas Tomlinson live from the White House. Lucas, thank you very much. And tonight, the New York Times is laying out the reasons Biden is losing in a new op-ed. Those 7 theories. The polls are wrong. It's the media's fault. It's a bad time to be an incumbent. Voters are angry about rising prices and high interest rates. Voters think Biden is too liberal. Voters think Biden is too old. That one's obvious. And finally, Democrats need to redefine Trump. You know, Mollie, I think that Ezra Klein's piece in the New York Times here may be a wake-up call, a sobering wake-up call, maybe a gift for Democrats, particularly on some of these points. I want to just read for you a quote from Ezra's op-ed. He says this: "The optimistic take is that the bar for Biden is low, and a strong debate performance or two will win him an unusual amount of support. The pessimistic take is that a lot of voters have concluded that Biden just isn't up to the job. Democrats have been telling them they're wrong, but telling voters they're wrong is a good way to lose an election." What do you make of it?
Well, I think if you remember in 2020, voters were told that if they selected Joe Biden, then some of the chaos of the Trump years would go away. We would have a thriving economy. We would have supposedly a much better foreign policy. Everything was going to be great and very moderate. And pretty much from day one, when Joe Biden took office, he has governed with pretty far left policies, such as opening the border wide open. But also, we have nothing but chaos. We have chaos globally. We'd gone from relative peace and prosperity during the Trump years to just global conflict everywhere. And so
wars active.
Problems everywhere. And people remember how great the economy was under Trump, and they're very frustrated with what things are now. So I don't think that there's much option for what to do because there aren't like moderates sitting on the sideline who can say, no, trust us this time, you know, if you elect this person who's more moderate, we'll do what we said we were going to do in 2020.
Kennedy, if we had to bet a beer tonight and you...
It better be gluten-free, Griff.
Gluten-free.
Thank you.
Gluten-free IPA, thank you very much. If you had to pick one reason why Biden might lose, assuming if he loses, what do you think it will be? Will it be the age? Will it be the Democrats were too much into poll denial, or something else?
Yeah, the poll denial isn't working for the administration. Age obviously works against all of us in one way or another. As they say, Father Time is undefeated, and he hasn't been doing Joe Biden any favors. I don't think they can juice him up enough for these debates. I know we're going to talk about the debates in a little bit, but it's very interesting how Ezra Klein sort of laid out the priorities of voters because, you know, it's like, the Democrats don't need to redefine Donald Trump. Like, they've tried to do it through lawfare, and that is failing them. Like, he's been stuck in a courtroom for 3 weeks, and people are still like, yeah, you know what? It's a better option for me than, you know, these horrible progressive cities, which are just being run into the ground. They're uninhabitable. People are leaving in droves. And then you've got the economy for the rest of the country that is just a stinky, rotten egg. So, yeah, no, voters know exactly what they're doing. They don't have to be told that the pollsters are doing it wrong and the people who are answering the phone are lying.
Yeah. Okay, so what about the possibility that things continue to go down the negative path for Biden? Could he possibly be replaced on the ticket? Now, former Ohio Governor John Kasich, who once ran for president on the Republican ticket, had this to say.
I'm starting to wonder if there's a real possibility that Joe Biden will not be the Democrat nominee. I'm starting to wonder about it.
Governor, where is this coming from?
It comes from the fact that I've talked to a lot of people, and I see what these numbers are like, Jose. I mean, you had a poll that poll that Siena poll indicated last week. Not only did they think he couldn't fix the economy, and they put Trump way ahead of him, but they also said that they're not sure he's as competent. In fact, that the economy is not turning. The fact that people are saying it's a terrible economy for them. The fact that they have said they don't have any confidence that Joe Biden can fix it. His public appearances have not been very good, and now they've agreed to 2 debates, which is out there as you can get. I'm starting to wonder.
We'll see how those debates go. Tom, I'll give you the last word. Do you think Democrats might actually replace Biden on the ticket?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty dire, and I think he's there's nobody there, like in baseball, you know, everybody thinks they can ride out the game. The pitcher says, no, leave me in, coach. I can do this. Even though they're hitting balls like crazy, right? The pitcher always thinks he can get in, and he is in tip-top shape. Biden is not. But Biden, if we had a coach, he would have approached the mound a year ago, and he said, you're out. But there's nobody like that to tell him. So, you know, maybe at some point there's going to be an intervention, and it's going to be the whole dugout's going to have to come out.
And that opens up a whole new conversation of who the relief pitcher would be. That for another segment.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.